Welcome to Show Up Anyway with Renee Dallo, for creative entrepreneurs, business owners, and humans navigating the messy middle of visibility, leadership, and being seen. You do not need to feel fearless to move forward. You just have to show up anyway. Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of my brand new podcast, Show Up Anyway. I am Renee Dallo. I am a former wedding planner. I'm a current visibility and confidence coach, content creator, and international keynote speaker. I'm also the founder of the Verve and Vision Club, which is a membership for creatives and solopreneurs. For those of you who know me as a wedding planner, you know that I've had two previous shows, Rock Your Wedding Biz and Talk with Renee Dallo. I've missed you. And guess what? I'm back. I'm back to podcasting. Did you miss me? This new podcast is called Show Up Anyway because my work right now is centered upon visibility and confidence for solopreneurs, creative business owners like wedding and event pros, realtors, fitness enthusiasts, any sort of small business owner that has found themselves sort of daunted by the task of having to show up on social in order to market their business, because that is where we are in July of 2026 as I'm recording this. My background is in acting and musical theater and entrepreneurship, and all of those skills converged late last year in a very clarity producing moment where I thought, oh, this is what I need to be doing with my life. I need to be helping people be more themselves on camera and in their marketing. So that's why we're here. My aim is to bring you a show every week for about 8 weeks and then take a bit of a break. My previous shows ran for years and years on a weekly basis, and I have found over time that is a bit of a slog, and it doesn't make me love the work. So we are structuring this in a way that keeps me loving the work. There's a couple of reasons I named the show Show Up Anyway. Number one, I am constantly traveling. It's pretty rare that right now I'm sitting in my home. I'm sitting in my favorite corner of my bedroom on my reading chair with my book stacks behind me. But for the most part, I live on the road as a public speaker. So I wanted to create a show where, yes, video is involved, but video is involved on a much smaller scale. If you can see, I have a basic clip-on microphone, no big microphone, and I have a sort of fancy camera, but it's very small. I can take it with me anywhere. That's the setup, and a little bit of lipstick. So you are going to see me if you watch the show on YouTube as opposed to listen to it on a streaming platform. You're going to be seeing me in many different locations. So the point is, the podcast had to fit into my life these days. But most of all, what I want to hopefully accomplish with this podcast over its lifetime is to not only encourage but enforce the fact that I actually think the most important thing we can do is show up. Showing up to networking events, showing up to market our business, showing up for our clients, showing up is a really underrated skill. But what I'd like us to do is remove the anxiety about showing up in a perfect way. Recovering wedding planner here. You got to show up as your beautifully imperfect, messy, trying their best self, and that's going to be enough. So let's get into today's topic, which frankly, I'm calling the visibility problem. We're starting with a bang, you guys. We're going there. So my big conviction right now, and for a while, has been that most of us are not struggling with visibility because we lack skill. In fact, I see everywhere I look an abundance of skill. But what I've noticed with women, most of the people that come to me for one-on-one coaching are women, is that visibility now feels emotionally unsafe. And it's probably always felt emotionally unsafe, but we have more language for it now. Now, if your reel goes viral, you might get hate comments. Or if you say something wrong on the internet, there is a slim possibility that someone might find out where you work, leave a negative review. There are a lot of things, fictionalizations, that we've decided are true. And a lot of times we tell ourselves stories in order to stay invisible because invisibility is safer. Of course it is. Of course it is. I will tell you, as someone who's been on the internet for many, many, many years and in earnest on the internet for the last 2, and I've had a reel go viral and I've had 3 million people see my face, there has been no negative to that for me. I also have a pretty high tolerance for risk, but I will say all the things that you might be telling yourself as a reason to not show up on camera, as a reason to not pitch yourself to that podcast, as a reason to not submit your work for publication or raise your hand for an interview or try to pitch yourself to local news stations. All the things that you're telling yourself that you can't do, all of those excuses are just that. It's largely fiction that we've told ourselves to make it okay that we're not trying. And what I'd love to do with my work and with this podcast is get rid of those, is encourage you to think beyond those. The real problem with visibility is inconsistency. That's a huge one. Overthinking, hiding, of course. Perfectionism, waiting for something to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. I'm recording this podcast today on a day where I had to force myself to take a shower, wash my hair, put on makeup, because I had been putting off this recording because it wasn't going to be perfect enough. And then I remembered I named this Show Up Anyway, and I have to live what I teach. So here we are. Yes, it's imperfect, but one day this podcast is going to have 200 episodes and no one's going to remember this first one. You just won't. So perfectionism is just paralysis. And this idea that one day, one future day, one fictional future day you're going to post whenever you feel ready, that future you is probably not coming in the way you think she is. There's not one day where you're going to wake up and be like, now I'm ready. Ready is a feeling that we need to get over. We don't need to feel ready. We're not going to feel ready until we get into action. You don't get confidence first. You get confidence after you've taken the action. The truth is that lack of visibility isn't a marketing problem, really. It is a nervous system problem. If you've ever gone to post something and you've gotten that sort of full body butterflies, energy, fear, whatever you want to call it, there's a sensation in your body. That's your nervous system. That's your nervous system saying, hey, this might not be safe. Are you sure you want to do it? It's our brain that has to override that by saying, no, I'm good. I filmed, I edited it, and I'm posting it. I got a plan. I know you, nervous system, don't know about it because my brain knew about it. I'm letting you know I'm fine. I'm going to tell you a little secret about that. You only have that reaction a couple of times, and then it just goes away. You might have it if you have a big thing to post. A couple of years ago, I made a Mother's Day post that I was pretty nervous about posting, and I had it then. And at that point, I was posting every day. If you have a topic that feels pretty loaded for you emotionally or feels pretty spicy, you might still have that sensation. But for the most part, that goes away once you get into action. So I just want to normalize that for you. If you're having all kinds of sensations and feelings and fear, you can just name it and say, hey, fear, thanks, but no thanks. I'm pretty good here. And post anyway. The visibility problem is a gap between how qualified you are and how visible you allow yourself to be. The visibility problem is when your work is excellent, your ideas are strong, your experience is real, your clients love you, but your audience would never fully know that because you're filtering yourself into obscurity, because you're afraid to be yourself in your marketing, in your social. But I'm telling you that once you embrace it, the whole world will change. And I know this because it happened to me. I'm sure many of you are a person that everyone trusts behind the scenes, and you're still terrified to take up space in public. And for a lot of us, especially women, we disguise this in this strange politeness that we've been socialized to accept, like, I don't want to bother people, or I don't want to be too boastful. I have to be humble, or I don't want people to think like, oh, who does she think she is? I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be cringe. I don't want to be seen trying too hard. I don't want to be too big, or I don't want to make it all about me. All of those things are just socialized politeness. We do not have to accept that as the status quo. We really don't. You can promote your business. You can talk about what makes you awesome. You can talk about your client wins. You can talk about things you feel passionate about. And the more authentically you do that, the more people are going to be drawn to you. If there is someone in your life that you think would be too negative about your visibility, it's okay to block them, because you're here to grow big things, sis. You're not here to make them feel comfortable. Oftentimes, growth is uncomfortable, and it always is. It depends on the level of uncomfortability, but yeah, growth is uncomfortable. And not everyone's going to be on board with that initially, but the more you do it and the more positive feedback you receive from the universe, the less you're going to care that your uncle thinks you're being, full of yourself. It's going to be a non-issue because you're going to have proof that it works for you. Something that I have come to know in the last couple of years is that true visibility requires interruption, right? You're trying to interrupt someone's scroll or interrupt someone's thinking or interrupt and get their attention. And the more comfortable you can be with being an interrupter, whether that's of thought or visual interrupter, the more comfortable you're going to be promoting your work. Marketing, though, requires repetition, which is why consistency always feels hard for folks when they're getting started, or sometimes you're going along in a great clip and then you fall off and you're like, oh, I'm not consistent. Consistency also looks like recording 8 episodes and then taking a 2-week break. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to normalize that for us now, because on week 9, you're going to email me and be like, where's your episode? And I'm going to say, I told you, we're taking a break. And that's okay. Consistency does not have to be every day forever for the rest of your life. It has to be a cadence that works for you. But also, marketing requires repetition. So if you can get into cadence for your marketing, that is going to yield much better results than you putting all your effort into one reel, posting that one reel, and then not posting again for a month. And I know you know that, but I just want to say this. Visibility requires interruption. Marketing requires repetition. You think that everyone knows what you do. They don't. Not everyone is paying attention to you the way that you're paying attention to you. So sometimes you have to reintroduce yourself to folks. That is one of the things I'm attempting to do with this podcast. Many of you know me as a wedding planner. I'm not a wedding planner anymore. And so you have to catch up to the new version of me that I've been living for 2 years now. And that's okay. And that's why we market, baby. You are not bothering people by letting them know how you can help them. You're just giving them all the information they need to make an informed decision. That is one of the clearest ways I have seen work with my one-on-one clients and work with my members in the Verve and Vision Club come to fruition, is that when you're putting yourself and your work out there on the internet, people have a lot of information about you before they even come to you for an inquiry or meet you in person. So by the time they meet you, they love you. Otherwise, why are they meeting you? So think about how much easier your inquiry calls will be, your discovery calls, your very first meeting, your point of sale. Think about how much easier that could be if you were authentically putting yourself and your work out on the internet for everyone to consume. So earlier I mentioned that I had a reel go viral. It was a couple of weeks ago. It was a reel. You can still see it on my Instagram. It's pinned to the top. It is a reel that is just 3 pieces, well, maybe 6 pieces of B-roll with myself, Leah Weinberg, and Megan Ely. 2 of my best friends. We were all in London speaking at a conference. I was running around all week creating content for us, and that was one of the many pieces of content that I created. It is a B-roll about group chats. It's text on screen, and it's a trending audio, and it's literally B-roll. None of us are even looking at camera. I edited it on a Friday night, Pacific time, sent it to the girls, so they saw it in the morning. By the time I woke up, they said, we approve, post it. I posted it Pacific time, Saturday at 10 a.m., and it went viral. And I'm telling you all that to tell you that it does not matter when you post. If content is good and content resonates and the algorithm, people like it and people share it and they pick it up, the algorithm likes it, it doesn't matter. There's no particular recipe for virality. But I will tell you that this reel right now still gets likes and still gets shared. We're up to 2.7 million views. So 2.7 million people have seen our faces. The nervous system regulation involved in that is something that I'm really used to because I've been coaching myself through that for over 2 years. But it was really interesting to see it manifest in Leah and Megan. Everyone's cool, everyone's great, everyone was happy. But there were definite moments where we would text each other, oh my God, what is happening? This is wild. Oh my God. When it hit 10,000 views, I threw a party. 10,000 views, I was like, this is amazing. When we got to 1 million views, here's the funniest part of this. When that reel got to 1 million views, which is considered virality, I was actually at a social media conference at Social Media Marketing World. I was at Social Media Marketing World mostly as an attendee, but in the course of many things, and I'll probably tell this story as a standalone story one day, I ended up going from attendee to MC on like a day in. So the day that our reel went to 1 million views was the day that I actually was earmarked to step in for someone who had been injured. And so I was taking the stage as an MC. These two things side by side, if that had happened to me 4 years ago, I would have spiraled into like a, oh my God, what is happening? This is too much for my nervous system. I can't handle it. Now I was like, deep breath, shoulders back, tits up, let's go. Let's go. That didn't happen overnight. I'm very proud that it happened, but it didn't happen overnight. Being comfortable with being visible and taking the stage. Now, granted, I'm a public speaker, so that part for me is fine. But I went from unknown at that conference to on stage in like a 10-minute window. That's a story for another day. Even though I've had a reel go viral, did not magically transform my business overnight. I have gotten a lot more followers since then, but not a tremendous amount. Brands were not throwing money at me from their car. I did not get huge brand deals from it, at least not yet. But what it did do was expand my capacity to be seen. And a lot of times, especially in the wedding and event industry, when we talk about social media marketing, a lot of the advice is about what to post and when to post. And there are a lot of programs out there that are like, AI will help you with your content pillars and know what to post. And in my membership, we do that too. But all of that is for nothing if you're not comfortable doing, if you're not going to turn the camera on like this and talk to it, or put yourself out there in a real meaningful way, put your real thoughts out there, put your real self out there. If you're not willing to do that, there is not an AI program in the world that's going to program your content for you and make it work. So my goal with this podcast and with all of my work is to get your confidence and get your nervous system aligned to the point where you can be seen by 2.7 million people and you will not crumble under the weight of that visibility. I want you to be booking from your Instagram and from your TikTok and from your podcast appearances or your blog posts, if you're still doing blogs. I want that to be a funnel for you without you thinking every single day, I wonder what everyone thinks about me. Someone hates me. Nobody's thinking about you the way you're thinking about you. But handling visibility at scale is a skill. So first we need to get through that. Then we can discuss what you're going to post and when. If visibility feels hard for you, it does not mean that you're bad at marketing. It just might mean that your nervous system is unfamiliar with this level of risk. The answer is not to shame yourself, okay? The answer is patience. And the answer is, as always, practice. You do not need to bully yourself into posting, but you do need to build tolerance for being seen. So start with small reps and let it be imperfect. If you scroll back on my Instagram to my very first reels, which please don't do, but if you want to feel better about yourself, scroll back, because at first I wasn't that good at it. Now, much better. You need to let your body learn that visibility is survivable, and you do that by building reps. Visibility is a relationship like everything else. I want you to know you're not flaky. Here's what I want you to know as we wrap up this week's episode. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not stupid. You are not, quote unquote, bad at this forever. You just might be hitting a lot of your edges, especially your exposure edge. Your nervous system doesn't necessarily need a pep talk, but it does need evidence that you can do this and not break down. Every time you show up and survive it, you teach your nervous system that this is safe for you. So start with that. Start showing up in small ways, even if it's just posting your face talking on your Instagram story, because that disappears in 24 hours. But if all of this is second nature to you now, I want to challenge you to do something more. Post that draft that's been in your camera roll that you're like, I don't know about that one. That might be a spicy take. Edit it and post it. Or if you're someone who wants to really increase your visibility, work on pitching to your favorite podcast and send it. Talk about the things you actually want to be known for. And post your face talking about something you really care about. That's your challenge for the week. Ask yourself, where am I waiting to feel ready before being seen? Because it's that answer that's going to be your edge. If you're like, well, I'm fine with posting B-roll, but I won't look at the camera, there's your edge. If you're fine to post your client's work, or if you're an event pro, the work of the wedding without posting yourself, there's your edge. And then ask yourself, what is one small visibility rep I can do before I feel really ready? Like Instagram story. So this week, I do not want you to wait for perfect confidence. I want you to choose one small rep. Let yourself feel seen before you feel completely ready, because you're never going to feel completely ready. Because you do not become visible after confidence, you become confident by putting in the reps of being visible. If this episode made you feel wildly and annoyingly perceived, I invite you to check out the Verve and Vision Club, which is my membership and community for solopreneurs and creative business owners who want to get better at visibility with more confidence and to create content that sounds like you. That's it for episode 1. Thank you for joining me for the very first episode of my brand new podcast, Show Up Anyway. If you like this episode, please subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now, friends.